Okay, everybody, today we're going to be taking a look at the base plate drawing on CAD. So make sure you have your notes out on all the CAD settings, also your drawing packet, so you have the dimensions. We're going to start off first by opening the CAD borders. So that was either emailed to you, you can find it on Canvas, or if you're at school, you can get it from the shared student drive, which I'm doing now. It is in the Applied Tech folder, AutoCAD folder, and it's right here, CAD borders. You're going to open that up. I would recommend saving this to a save as and save it into your Google Drive, which would also be then select your CAD 1 folder to save your CAD borders. You can see I have mine in there already. And then what I would do is I would do another save as, and I'm going to make sure it's being saved to my Google Drive, my drive, into my CAD 1 folder, and I'm going to call this Baseplate. And you know you have the correct template if you have your layers here and your ANSI layouts at the bottom, A through D. If it's just showing this no layers or no layouts, that means you didn't open CAD borders. You just click plus, or maybe just open a new drawing. So again, make sure you're starting with CAD borders. We're going to start with our construction line, so make sure that layer is turned on. Also, check your O-snap settings for those 8 settings that should be on. We should have polar tracking on as well. And I'll leave grid and snap on for this one. I'm going to start with a line. Again, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to start over here, roughly. And I'm going to go over 22 is fine. And I'm going to go start down here. Again, I'm starting on a grid point, and I'm going up. Again, this is 1/4 inch grid with an 1/8 inch snap. So remember, each square is 1/4 of an inch. That's our grid. But we can snap to every 1/8 of an inch. Okay, that's in your grid and snap settings down here. Also, if you find yourself way too far out when you zoom, like you zoom too far out, like right now, if I draw this line, I'm at 5,000. That means I'm way too far out. I can't really draw a short line here. You need to double click the wheel on your mouse, and that gets you back to where you are, zoom all. You could also type in zoom, hit enter, and then type all. And that gets you back to the 0, 0 quadrant to get you started with your drawing. So again, these 2 lines, I just kind of randomly drew them. Make sure that it's 2 lines and not 4 lines. Some people will draw like 1 line here, then another line here, a 3rd line here, and a 4th line. So it looks like 2 lines, but really it's 4. No, you want 2 separate lines like that. And again, it doesn't really matter how long they are. Just make sure they're longer than your part. So 8.5 by 5, I make them at least like, double that, roughly 16 by 10 at least, if not more. Okay, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to use our offset tool. I'm going to show you how to do offset to get the left edge, the right edge, the top, and the bottom. So if it's 8.5, half of that is going to be 4 1/4. So 4 1/4 I'm going to use for an offset dimension. Also, half of 5 is 2 1/2. So to start off, my 2 offset dimensions are going to be 4 1/4 and 2 1/2. And again, I'm going to get the outside box of this. Okay, so I'm going to type in offset. By the way, the offset tool is right here. Basically, it lets you copy lines a certain distance. So to get that tool, I like to type it in. So O, enter. It's going to ask you for the distance. I'm going to do the width, which is 8.5. So I want half of that, 4 1/4. So 4.25, hit enter. I'm going to click this line, and I'm going to click to the right. Click this line again, and then click to the left. Now I want to offset this one up and down 2 1/2, because I'm already at the middle. It's 5, so half of 5 is 2 1/2. So 2 1/2 up, 2 1/2 down. So O enter, 2.5 enter. So we're communicating with AutoCAD. We're letting it know how far to offset. Okay, so right now we have our outside rectangle, which is 8.5 by 5. And what you could do to check it, you could just like grab a line. Or actually, you could type in measure. Well, let's grab a line. Grab a line. Start it here, and I can just go over. I'm not going to click. I'm just checking it. 8.5 by 5. Perfect. That's what I want. All right, the next thing you want to do is we want to offset for the square in the middle, which is 3 inches. So I want to go 1.5 inches each way. So that'll be the same offset. It'll be 1.5 inches. Now I'll do that one 4 times. Okay, so I'm going to offset. So O enter, 1.5 enter. I'm going to offset this line. I'm going to go up. I'm going to go down. I'm going to go right. And I'm going to go left. So now you can kind of see I have that 3-inch square in the middle. So nice thing about CAD and a lot of the tools, you don't have to draw a lot. Like with this entire drawing, I'll end up only drawing 2 lines. Those first 2 lines that I started with. Everything else is copied, offset. We're going to use different tools to complete the part. Now, same thing. I like to always check my measurements. So let's just make sure. Okay, so if I went here, okay, good. That's 3 by 3. So there's my 3-inch square. Now, eventually, you're going to have a lot of construction lines on here. What I would recommend doing now is switch to your visible layer. We're going to use our rectangle tool. And I'm going to start here. I'm going to draw a large rectangle for the outside 8.5 by 5 rectangle. And then I'll do one for the 3-inch square. So I'll use the rectangle tool. I'll start right here. So now you can kind of see what I got. And the layers can be turned on and off with the light bulb. See, right now I just turned my construction line off. So we're not going to even delete those purple construction lines. We're going to leave them there. We'll just be turning the layers on and off. So for now, I want to turn them back on. The next thing I need to do is get this rectangle on this side. So it's 3/4 by 2. Notice there's a 1-inch space, though, between. So that would be my next offset. I want to offset over 1 inch for the space. So I'm going to do O enter, set it to 1, enter. Now be careful here. Don't click the white square. You want to go up. You want to click your construction line here because that's the one I want to move over 1 inch. And I'll do the same thing on this side. Now that rectangle is also 3/4 wide. So I want to offset that to the right now. Offset 0.75. I'm going to offset this one to the right, and this one will go to the left. So now I have the width of my rectangle, but I got to double check the height. The height of it is 2 inches. So I want to offset this line up 1 inch and down 1 inch. Okay, so offset 1 inch, up, and down. So again, I'm offsetting that original line that I drew 1 inch down and 1 inch up. Same thing. I'm going to use my rectangle now, and I'm going to trace over this so I can see what I got. And if you hit enter, it'll remember your last command. So instead of going back up here, I can just hit enter. I can click here, and it remembers that I had the rectangle. So now I'm going to turn off my construction layer, kind of see what I got. It looks pretty good right now. The last part to getting this base plate done is the chamfer or angle in the corner. All right, there's a tool called chamfer that we can use for that. 2 things we'll need to know is the angle, which is 30 degrees, and the length of the angle, which is 2 1/4. So 30 degrees and 2 1/4. So I'll show you how to use the chamfer tool to finish this. Okay, the chamfer tool is it's part of modify. It's a modify tool. So we have draw tools to draw things. We have modify tools to modify things. This little arrow next to fillet, this is our fillet tool. We don't need that one though. And fillet is for rounds or curves, which we want an angle. So I click the little arrow next to it and I click chamfer. You can also type in CHA and it'll come up. And the chamfer tool, you can get a little preview of what it does. It says it bevels the edge of an object. And if you see that preview, it looks exactly like what we want to do here. Okay, so I'm going to get my chamfer tool. Don't start clicking things yet. you have to set it up. AutoCAD doesn't know that it's 30 degrees and that it's 2 1/4. We got to tell it. So if I go back to this, so before you start clicking things, if you look at the bottom here, you have an option for angle. So we want to set that. We want to type in angle or A and hit enter. Now it's where it's asking you, okay, what is the length of my angle? So again, it asks you for length first, which is 2 1/4. Then it asks you for the degrees or the angle, which is 30. And again, I found that information right here, 2 1/4 and 30. Now I can click my lines. You always want to click, in this case, the 2 1/4, it's the horizontal dimension. So that's what you want to click first. So I click this one and then the side. If you hit enter, it will remember all of that. Click the bottom and the side, enter, bottom and the side, enter. Now, I'm not going to do it, but if I clicked here, see how it's going 2 1/4 this way. So I wouldn't want to do that. That's why you got to click the top first. So I'm going to hit escape and try that again. Now I got to get my chamfer tool. So it's important to click, in this case, the top first, then the side. And that's it. Your base plate drawing is completed. We just have to do dimensions and center marks, which we'll do next. Okay, so I'm going to start with the center marks. And actually what I'll do is this. I'm going to turn on my construction layer. I'm going to click those 2 initial lines that I first drew, those very first 2 lines I drew, and I'm going to change them. You can also change the layers. So I want to change it from center to construction. Now I will go back and turn off my construction layer. Now I'm left with this. Now those center lines, we need to kind of clean them up and bring them in. So I'm going to click it, and that blue grip on the end, I'm going to drag it in. So it's only 1/4 inch outside. Bring this blue grip all the way in. So it's 1/4 inch outside. Same thing with the vertical one. Click it. Let's bring this down. So it's only 1/4 inch outside. And bring this one up. So it's 1/4 inch outside. Once you do that, you'll notice a nice cross in the middle. It's nice and even. Last step now will be to dimension it, which I will go over in the next video.